Hi, my name is Vikram Chandran. I work at Soho VFX studio based in Toronto. My designation would be a senior compositor in the comm department. I've been working with them for the past 5 years now. Yeah, apart from Soho, I did work with other studios also in Toronto, like Spin, VFX, Trickster Canada, and Acme Pictures. At Spin, I did work as a compositor for certain projects. And at Trickster Canada, I did work as a VFX artist. And at Acme Pictures, I helped them with their project as for tracking and compositing at the same time. My recent projects, I would say, is X-Men Dark Phoenix, John Wick 3, Game of Thrones, Deadpool 2, Tomb Raider, and Logan. I am basically a Malayali settled in Toronto. That's pretty much who I am. Now, why I chose VFX as my career? I used to draw and paint. So I wanted to get into a career which is something to do with art or maybe little creative stuff. So I didn't find anything at that point. So what happened is during my MCA, I was doing a project, and that presentation I did it in Flash. And so I did an animation for that, putting background music and some voiceover and some animation, and that kind of opened up that I can create things in the software. So that kind of opened up to learn more creative softwares. Like I then got from Flash to Photoshop, and from Photoshop to Illustrator, and I started learning more. And then from there I started to understand that maybe this is the point I need to decide which I need to get into, either the software industry or to this animation industry. So I joined 1 year program in visual communication, where I learned photography, graphic design, and 3D animation. So I did a lot of explorations. I did learned a lot of softwares, and at that time I remember there was no video tutorials. So it's mostly that you can get is books and PDFs. So it was kind of boring to read through step by step and do it, but it was an interesting process at that point. So I did work after the course. I did work in Bangalore as a 3D modeling and texturing artist, and I was teaching. And while teaching, that again helped me more, because I had to teach the whole animation, like modeling, texturing, rigging, a little bit of rigging, animation, lighting. So once I was starting teaching, I actually learned a lot of stuff while I was teaching. So with that process, I was able to learn more about this whole 3D animation process, and I started to use the photography which I learned, the graphic, the colors, the color theory. So I did kind of explored. I did try to find, but it did help me a lot. That's the point where I actually got into this industry. Now, talking about the positives of the VFX industry, we all know that the industry is growing. There's a lot of opportunities coming up, a lot of good projects coming. Even TV series, TV shows all have VFX. All short films have VFX. Anything small also starting using VFX. There is opportunities. There is from big to small. There is the VFX industry is growing. As it is growing, there is again so much of opportunity to learn. So the learning never stops, because now you can see there's so much of updates happening to your current software, new softwares coming up, new techniques coming up, which all we need to learn. And these kind of updates kind of help us to speed up the production process. It is always because, as I told earlier, there are small studios coming up and big ones as well, and a lot of hiring is also happening at the same time. It's good, like especially from my like when I started in Toronto, it was I started working at Acme Pictures. It's basically a small studio. I think we had around 10 to 12 employees, that's all. And so it was a small budgeted TV show, and we were working on Fusion. And I knew Nuke, I did not know Fusion, but since it's a node-based program, so still I did have an idea of how the whole process would work. So I did learn a lot. Though it was small, I did learn a lot. And from there, I was able to go to other studios, and by God's grace, I am working with bigger projects. So as I told earlier, I did start low, but I am right now working with big, like the recent one which we worked was X-Men and John Wick. And another one which is going to come up soon, which unfortunately I can't say the name, which is it's again another interesting project that we just finished last week. Now, coming to the negatives, I would say that we can't deny the fact there is long hours in the industry. Sometimes it does come up for certain reasons, because once the project is about to be completed, there is a release date, then the whole studio, the whole crew, kind of the whole production team kind of sits behind you to complete the project. So what you do is basically you've been forced to work on Saturdays and Sundays, but most of the studios try to avoid it, because they try to, if they have a kind of proper planning and proper communication with the director or whosoever production house, then it kind of makes it easier with the pipeline, studio pipeline, whatever have. Otherwise, there is workload that is coming, so we need to kind of force ourselves. We have no other choice. And especially like me, I have a family, wife and kids, so sometimes it is struggling, sometimes it is we have relaxed time. So our schedule kind of goes on and off most of the time. I would say there is, at the same point in time, as I told earlier, that there is so much of hiring, so much of opportunities. At the same time, you might also get laid off because the company doesn't have enough projects, and so people kind of fall into a conclusion that there is no opportunities and this industry is not stable. This industry is kind of like a passionate, it's different from the other. It's not like a government job. So like I myself have been laid off a couple of times, but I did not stop because I chose this career. So I took it very serious. No matter whatever it is, so I just try to spend more time learning and believing inside of me that things will change. I will get more opportunities, a better place. Even if you get laid off, don't just worry, because I would say that sometimes it's good that you got laid off from that place. You might get another. It's like this. It's like if one door closes, another door opens. Yeah, that's one thing I found. A negative thing is getting laid off for no reason. Even you might be one of the best in the studio, but it's a hard decision for the studio. But sometimes they have to take it, and you might be one of them. No, who knows? But I would say that, as I told earlier, there is opportunities. So just patiently wait till you maybe a good one comes. And there is always, as I told you earlier, always there is opportunities. Because nobody, there is new movies coming up every. It's the numbers are growing, and it's never come down every year. And the VFX quality is coming so good nowadays that so much of technology techniques are being used, and yeah, as at one word I can say, there is opportunities. So just be positive, just be more passionate. Now talking about the stability in the workplace, especially in the VFX industry, I would say, as I told earlier, is to update yourself, learn whatever, and understand the tools, the techniques. You can go to the software a company website like Autodesk or Foundry or whatever software you're working on. If you go there, you can find new tools they have updated, whatever techniques they're using it, so that you can use it in your process of getting the work done. So that's one thing. And sometimes this is not for most of the studios, but sometimes you might need to switch roles, like or maybe switch softwares. Like as I told you earlier, I knew only After Effects and Nuke, and I did not have any clue about Fusion. But the company that hired me gave me like 3 days to understand Fusion. So, and then the 4th day I will start getting shots. So I had to quickly understand the whole process of the software. It's basically, it's not since I came from a node-based program like Nuke, it wasn't that bad. But that's something which I learned, and I found it interesting also. And another studio, I had to work with After Effects, and then again I had to understand, I had to learn quickly so that I can fit into their process of production process, so I can get the shots done quickly. And then finally I'm back to Nuke. So there is sometimes switching roles, and one place which I worked, though they hired me as a compositor, they did not have projects. The ones which they had was short of riggers and animators. So they asked me if I can do it. So I kind of gave a shot, and since I told you earlier, I was teaching in Bangalore, so that did help me just to quickly look through different tutorials and understand again what it needs to be done. And I started rigging and animating, and then that's again a new role which I had to do, and that's something which is important. And another thing about the stability is always have a good communication between your supervisor and your production manager, because they are the ones which are very, very important, and you need to communicate to them all the time. Whatever projects, whatever shots you're working on, you need to make sure you're in the right page with them. So not everybody gets confused in between. And communication is again your way of talking, the way of making them understand is also very important. Maybe you're not like a pro English person, your language is not that great, but you're able to communicate. That's something which is more important. Like when I came to Canada, though I speak English, they also speak English. The problem with which I faced was that what I was saying they did not understand, and what they said I did not understand what they meant by it. So it took some time. We kind of had to adapt to that work culture. We need to, again, it's a learning process. You need to adapt to the work culture, the environment that you are working in, and whatever accent they use, you try to understand what they are actually saying. and the words they use, like in India we say lift, and here we say elevator. And in India, when I say I shifted my house, here they say I moved my house. So it's some things which makes a lot of difference, and it's a minor thing, but yeah, the main point which I'm trying to say is communication with your production manager and supervisor, and as well as the main important thing is communication with your team, with your colleagues. That's something is very important. That kind of brings stability. Now coming to the future of the industry, I would say it's bright, because as I told you, there is so many big movies coming up every year, all are big budget movies, and so there is so much to learn at the same time. And as you know that it's not only the big production houses that are making right now. Netflix and Amazon Prime and HBO and so many other studios have come in, making their own production and making it available, so that every big, small, medium, short film all needs VFX. So there is a lot of opportunities, and that's something which is great. The future is great, and there's going to be so much of hiring globally. And now is not like before, and now the work is being moving from places to places, from different countries, and so it's the future is bright. That's all I could say. Okay, talking about 5 positive tips, I would say is to be passionate and proud of what kind of work you do, what kind of company you work for, your team that you work for. Just be proud of it. Especially a school or college, whoever whoever's going to an institution, especially when I'm talking to students who choose this industry, just be proud of what you're doing, and be passionate. That I know you need hope also. That's one thing which is important. Just take big hopes of one day you will work in big projects. Think positive about yourself, and then one other thing which is personally which I do is whenever I get assigned a shot, I look at that shot as my personal shot, and I try to make it as good as possible. And because at the end of the day, what happens is that shot, even if it's like a small, big shot, big movie, small movie, doesn't matter. It might come into a TV screen, computer screen, internet, I don't know, whatever it is. But that's your shot, and you put all your effort into it, and it appears in the big screen. So you should be proud about it. So try to, whatever shots you've been assigned, just try to make it as good as possible. And another thing is, as I told you earlier, don't gossip. Try to bring a positive vibe in your company, in your whoever you work for. And make friends. It's a very good thing. Make friends. Go out to play, exercise, have good food. Another important thing which I would say is take vacations. That's very, very important, because you worked hard, worked a lot, you worked hard for your company, and you deserve a vacation. So go to places where you've never seen, explore, take some photos. Read books. If you love photography, if you like taking photos, buy a camera, a used one, new one, whatever you have. Even if it's a cell phone, just take some pictures. And if you have hobbies, painting, drawing, do that in between. That's something which is good. If you're interested, try that. Yeah, that's more I can say to be positive. That's all I have. So thank you.